Epstein files were on Pam Body's desk, then they didn't exist, then they were written by the Democrats, now they're just plain old boring. You don't want to see what's in there.
It's pretty boring stuff. It's sorted, but it's boring. And I don't understand why it keeps going. I think really only pretty bad people, including fake news, want to keep something like that going. But credible information, let them give it. Anything that's credible, I would say, let them have it.
So there.
Man, I will have to say over the past several days, the whole Epstein stuff, Trump has made some pretty bad remarks. I like Trump a lot. Voted for him. I think he's a good guy. I mean, as good as any of the rest of us are. Definitely fond of him as being president, and I've liked most of the things he's done, but the Epstein stuff has just been a debacle. It has been really bad. Don't know who this guy is. I will leave a link to his video in the description. Let's hear what he has to say.
There you hear it. Now, to some of you, the copium's going to set in. You're going to say, hey, he said the credible information, we can release it. We should release it, and we'll talk about that. But they also say in the same interview, we already released the credible information.
And the credible information's been given.
So if it's already been given, they're not going to give you more stuff. Now, funny enough, the guy next to Trump looking on and laughing as Trump says this is a big nothing burger. The only people who would deal in this kind of talk are fake news. That is Epstein's neighbor. That is Howard Lutnick, who has a house.
Holy crap. Next door to hubby Bill's old buddy, Jeffrey Epstein?
House that was next to Epstein's place. You can see him laughing here. It's even been reported that Howard Lutnick's place actually literally touches Jeffrey Epstein's house. That's how close their two houses are together. That's the same guy laughing at a statement by the president that Jeffrey Epstein is boring and there's no reason to look.
One thing around that same interview, I believe it was that one, or no, it was a separate one that Trump said that Trump was basically talking about how, you know, there's been so many conspiracies like the dossier, the Steele dossier, and the Trump and Russia stuff, and how all that stuff has been fake, and he's grouping the Epstein stuff alongside those other types of things and basically saying that's all like Democrat propaganda and stuff like that. I don't know how I feel about that. It kind of makes me uneasy when he talks about that.
Into him, and if you do, you're a bad person.
Really only pretty bad people.
I didn't like this comment. I heard this the other day too. That's such a bad thing to say. It's a bad comment, man.
Including fake news want to keep something like that going.
I almost don't have words for this, to be calling it boring, to be talking about one of the world's largest predators of all time and trying to figure out who the powerful people are who are connected with this guy, especially when the former neighbor of said predator is standing there laughing as you say that everyone interested in this case is somehow fake news or a bad person. You can see this both in property records and in public press statements at the time about Epstein's Manhattan townhouse, saying that Howard Lutnick of Cantor Fitzgerald bought the adjacent smaller townhouse owned by Lex Wexner. That's one of Epstein's.
I don't care, to be honest, at the moment. I mean, unless you have something other than this, someone who lives next to Epstein, I don't care. There were probably people who worked for Epstein who literally worked for him and had no idea what was going on. I was listening to Benny Johnson a little while ago, and he was talking about, like, you know, people who cleaned his house, people, you know, one of his houses, or his gardeners, and you know, bought him groceries and stuff like that. Like, there were probably a lot of people that Epstein interacted with, lived around, certainly, that had no idea. So it's like, you know, let's not go on. I don't know. It's like, let's not start a witch hunt, in other words, and just start naming out names like, oh, you live next to the guy, you're guilty. Unless you can show me something more than this. So far, just living next to him, I don't care. But what else do you got?
Famous benefactors, and in fact, Epstein owned the house that later got sold to Howard Lutnick. You can see he owns the trust that owned this house. Later, of course, it goes to Comet Trust and then to Howard Lutnick. Supposedly, the property was sold for $10 in cash value and some other equivalent things. We don't know how much, just to be clear, so maybe it was a fair value price. And maybe they don't know each other. I want to be clear that Howard Lutnick denies knowing Jeffrey Epstein or being
Okay.
associated, so we have to get that in there. But the
Okay.
optics of this are just completely insane, and anyone who's paying attention should not expect any further disclosures from the FBI, DOJ, despite the fact that Trump is sort of about facing on this and saying, well, we can give over the legitimate files, but as we just showed, the legitimate files they're claiming they've already put out. Here's Donald Trump.
It does sound a little bit like hibbity-jibbity. You know, it's like, well, you know, we'll release the legitimate ones. It's like, yeah, well, okay, but maybe let us decide which ones are legitimate and not the personal information of said unsaid victims, but like, if there's propaganda in that, let's just kind of sift through all of it, you know?
Saying that the Epstein files, once again, are a hoax, but he also says that they can be released if credible.
And in terms of the credibility of the different things that they've seen, and I would say that, you know, these files were made up by Comey, they were made up by Obama, they were made up by the Biden, you know.
This is the one.
We went through years of that.
Yeah.
With the Russia hoax, with all of the different things that we had to go through. We've gone through years of it. But she's handled it very well, and it's going to be up to her. Whatever she thinks is credible, she should release. Yeah.
So
Did you guys know that for most of the people watching YouTube videos, only a small percentage of those people are actually subscribed to those channels? But subscribing is really quick and easy. All you have to do is first to make a YouTube account, which is free, and then after that, go down to the video that you're watching, hit the like button, which goes a long way in helping out the algorithm, and then go over and hit the subscribe button. After you've hit the subscribe button, click the drop down arrow and click the option that says all, so that can notify you whenever a new video from this creator has dropped. Subscribing is free, and making a YouTube account is also free. It allows you to keep up with all of your favorite content creators, and of course it goes a long way in helping out my channel, and I really do appreciate it. So with all of that being said, back to the video.
that's the second time now he's pushed it off on his attorney general to now handle. But I just don't think this is meaningful because, like I said, they've already said they've given us the credible information already. I think basically they're going to kill it from here. That's my guess, especially since we did get a word from Pam Bondi about this. When asked, she basically said we're just going to defer to the memo.
Would release credible files related to Mr. Epstein. Are you prepared to do that, and when would you do it?
Our memo today, our memo speaks for itself, and we'll get back to you on anything else. I haven't seen all of his statements today.
So I think that
Man, that dumb bimbo. I am so disappointed in Pam Bondi. What a bimbo. What a bimbo. God, why would you pick her?
it shows pretty clearly that they're going to just continue barreling down this path while giving people a bone as far as making it seem like they might release something. This is a common smokescreen that we see where they will kind of bait people like, maybe we'll release something, maybe we'll release something, maybe, and then every like 12 months or something, they release something of complete non-information.
That's basically what Pam Bondi did when she got on the news. I've got him on my desk. Oh, breaking news. You know, something's going to come out soon. Nothing. Yeah.
Importance. The problem is when people like this control the files, anything but a full release besides the CSAM and victims' names is not going to do it. You have to, the only way to do something like this is to release all of the files, except for those small categories. That's the only way to build back trust.
He said except for the victim names, right?
But clearly that's not what's going to happen. And anyone who's paying the slightest bit of attention to what our leaders are actually saying, they are absolutely telling you they're not going to do it. They're all...
It really does sound like that. I hate to say it. I don't want to believe that, to be honest with you. I feel like this whole thing's been so mismatched, mishandled. But I do lean that way, to be honest. It does sound that way.
Deferring to each other, Trump's deferring to Pam Bondi, Pam Bondi's deferring to the memo, and ultimately no one is going to be held accountable. Now there have been some political games played with this, with the Democrats trying to get the Epstein files released, and this was actually blocked by people in Congress, which is just so mind-blowing to me that people would actually say no to releasing this, but they did.
Saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. No. In the opinion of the chair, the noes have it. The amendment's not agreed to.
Who the hell is this old bag? This doesn't look like our Congress to me.
Shocked by that. I will ask for a roll call.
5 yeas, 7 nays.
the amendment is not agreed to, and I think most of us believe what's appropriate will be released when it is time for the president to release it.
Well, Madam,
Thank you.
So there.
Who was that old bag? That's not on the House floor. Where the hell was that? It looked like they were in some kind of, I don't know, grandma's kitchen or something. What was that?
You see it. We're just supposed to blindly trust that they're going to release it. Honestly, I have no faith in any of this. I think this is all political theater. Honestly, the people who are like, oh, look, it's just the Republicans. I mean, we could have released this a long time ago. To be honest, I don't trust any of these people until...
I agree. I don't trust any of them. I trust Trump a little bit, to be honest. And some of his picks, that's why I voted for him. If I just thought, what the hell, they're all just corrupt, I wouldn't have voted for the guy. I do trust Trump, and I do think there's a handful, maybe, of people up there that are trying to do the right thing. But most of them, are crap.
Until I see actual documents released, I believe this is all theater. I don't actually believe they're going to get this done. I think they could have been doing this from the very beginning. And truth be told, we've seen our government protect Jeffrey Epstein for over a decade. This didn't start in 2019 when he died. This has been going on since the early 2000s, from his first plea deal where he got a non-prosecution agreement. I mean, we have been protecting this guy. Powerful people have been protecting him for years upon years upon years, and it crosses party lines. So while, I guess it's cool that we're like making little votes like this and we get to see like people actually put the words out there, like I'm not gonna force the release because they'll tell us when they feel like it, so we can see the despicableness firsthand. I don't actually believe that politicians are gonna be the one to open this case wide open. I think it's going to be either a leaker, a hacker, somebody who is just like willing to YOLO on this, that will actually meaningfully move this case forward. I haven't seen any evidence that there is political will, besides dunking on your political opponent, to actually do anything. Because that's all we've really seen so far is people hit each other with the old, like, you're involved with Epstein. And then you go, whoa, hey, can you release the files? And they always say, well, we'd sure love to, but actually, no, we can't. Now, that might sound a little doomer. I won't blame you if you get excited about the possible release of the Epstein files. But I just feel like we've been down this road before with people promising to, expose the deep state, expose the guys in power. In fact, ironically, that's the story of how we got here now, is the Trump administration was dunking on their political opponents for years, saying that, they're secretly involved with Epstein, until it was time to release the files. And then now, it was made by the Democrats. So that's where we're going to leave it there.
I hope this guy isn't right about that. I'm a little bit more optimistic, ever so slightly, and I place a little bit more trust in Trump and the Trump administration, but unfortunately I do think there is a pretty decent likelihood that this guy may actually be correct. I feel like if there is going to be any kind of change or any kind of release or anything happen, it's not going to happen unless people continue to put on the pressure, unless voters of Trump and people who, support Trump even, and those who don't, continue to hold our leaders accountable and not just be okay with the answer of, no, just trust us, and we'll just sort things out and you just be quiet. I do trust Trump and I do trust the administration, but no, we shouldn't be quiet. We should still hold them to accountability. Like we the people should have the power to do that. And even though we like them, even though we may endorse Trump or voted for him, even though, it might be like MAGA, we should still hold him accountable and not just be pushed aside or silenced and just be like, no, this is a big deal. This is important. And if we just grow silent, which I think that's what they're hoping for, and like he says, just let this pass on and just drop these little nuggets, then nothing will happen. But if people continue to raise their voice and people continue to talk about this, which has been happening and which there have been these responses and stuff, I think there may be hope, and I'd like to believe that there's hope. We'll see how it goes. I'm really hoping that Trump's not on it. If he is, I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get there. I don't believe he is, to be honest. But I guess we'll see. I don't know. At the end of the day, We need answers. We need transparency. Really, I think that's what everyone wants. Let's have some accountability, right? I don't know. I'd love to know what you guys think, though. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. Really do appreciate it. And yeah, till next time, guys.